Chris, good to see you again. Explain to me how you reach out and you get Kevin Durant to sit down for an interview. How long had you been working on that?
I text, well, first of all, thanks for having me, DP. I text KD probably about 2 or 3 days before he was to come to Sacramento, where I'm based, where I have a home out there in Sacramento, and let him know I wanted to talk to him. I wanted to, try to get him after the game or before the game. And a lot of times, KD's often busy. Sometimes he sees the text, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to put it on his radar. So I did that. He never got a response. So I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure he saw it, but I'll try to get with him at the game. So I arrived at the arena, and Mark Spears, my brother at Anscape, he was there, and we both wanted to chat with KD. So we bumped into KD before he was to take the court for his pregame workout. So we talked to him, chopped it up, and we haven't seen KD in probably about a year. And so we told him, like, look, we would like to have some time with you. And he was like, no problem. I got you, brothers. I'll get you after the game. So this was actually after the game, and it wasn't a time it wasn't a time in which he felt like venting because of a loss, because, he was frustrated. This was already set. Okay. And so I got with him after the game. We spoke for about 15 minutes. Anything off limits? No. I think you saw the story. What jumped out at you, Chris, from what Durant had to say? Well, I think what jumped out, I think he knew the line of questioning that I was going to come forth with. What jumped out to me was that for whatever reason, he was just prepared to answer those questions. We never really knew why he requested a trade. He goes into details about how he was going to Steve Nash and telling him, look, I don't think we're prepared properly. We're not doing enough practice. We're not doing enough shell drills. We're not spending enough time on defense. And, KD, like one thing about covering this guy for, half a decade, longer than that, on a day-to-day basis, that I know that he's one of the most tireless workers we have in the superstar class in the NBA. And so he really does value what it takes to compete at a championship level. He values the preparation. And so for him saying that speaks volumes. And I know there's a quote out there that he said where he mentions his teammates about, he talked about the starting five that they brought out there in Sacramento. And basically what he was saying is that, there's all this scrutiny on a team that isn't whole, and that's why he mentioned those names. He's like, what are you expecting from that group? He wasn't mentioning it as a disrespect. He's basically saying that these are guys that were not supposed to be starting five caliber guys. They were supposed to be complementary players, and we're doing the best that we can to maximize that group. And in that quote, right after that quote, he says, I'm enjoying playing basketball with them. I'm enjoying getting to see the defenses that teams are throwing against me, and I'm trying to figure it out, navigate it, and work my guys into it. And he's saying he's having probably one of the most fun times of his career. So that part gets left out in him naming that starting five. But, I was just, I really was. I got to be honest. I was just taken back by how upfront he was willing to go that night. How much blame does he take for what has happened there? I mean, he definitely has to shoulder some of the blame. I mean, obviously. But does he? I mean, he helped build this and then wanted to leave. And, yeah. and that's what I said. Look, you want to be a leader would stay and say, how do we fix this? Not, I want to check out. Well, I don't know if I buy that, DP, because we've always had superstars that requested trades. And so, it does come a point to where what you sign up for doesn't materialize. But he wanted Steve Nash. I mean, they wanted DeAndre Jordan, for God's sakes. You got Kyrie. He helped build this. Not every superstar gets to build a team, pick your coach, and KD did. He did, but again, it didn't work out. Steve Nash was obviously somebody who didn't have experience as a head coach before. It just didn't pan out. And I think you have to remember, Steve Nash was with the Golden State Warriors on a part-time basis. And, that's when I was in the Bay Area. So I saw the relationship that bonded and was forged between those two. And so I think maybe KD felt like, Steve Nash being in the Warriors infrastructure, seeing how they get down on a preparation basis, I think he felt like, Steve Nash would implement some of those same things there in Brooklyn. And it didn't work out. Obviously you got the James Harden situation that went south. He was in for a hot minute and out. The Ben Simmons hasn't worked out. Kyrie Irving, look, yes, there were signs. And I remember when Kevin Durant was a free agent, I went to he had rented a house in the Beverly Hills that summer. And I went over there to do a story on him. And, I think this was right before, it might've been right after he chose the Nets. And I asked him, I'm like, what's your comfort level with Kyrie at that point? Because at the time we saw what happened with Cleveland and we saw what happened to Boston. And I believe at that time he told me that, we just don't understand Kyrie. He's a hooper. He's just like me. He's somebody who just wants to play basketball. So the impression I got that he felt like Kyrie was misunderstood. So definitely you have to put some onus on Kevin Durant because he did have a lot of say-so. But ultimately, he doesn't make the final call. The final calls are from the head coach and from management. And it's just things that he felt that he signed up for didn't ultimately materialize. And that's what led him to request a trade over the summer.
Talking to Chris Haynes, NBA on TNT sideline reporter, insider for Bleacher Report. What is the likelihood that Kyrie Irving is not with this team later on, maybe in the next couple of months? Do you think Kyrie's here for this entire season?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
But is he untradeable, and that's why he's going to be there?
Hey, DP, that's why you're good at what you do, man. That's why you're the best, man. Let me answer that question. No, so he will. Sources told me he will. He's expected to return this Sunday against the Memphis Grizzlies. That will be the Brooklyn Nets' first home game after this road trip. With that being said, look, I can't sit here and lie to you and say that there's much value in trading for Kyrie. I haven't. I'm on the phones with a lot of teams. His name is not really coming up. Even for the Los Angeles Lakers, who he was tied to for much of the offseason. That's just not something I'm hearing right now. To answer your question, BP. But if you're talking about beyond this season, do I see Kyrie with the Nets? That's really hard to see. I can't imagine a scenario where he would be a member of the Nets by next season.
I'll leave you with this. We brought this up yesterday or the day before. Is Kyrie Irving a Hall of Famer?
Ooh, I think if his season were to end now, I'm not saying he's not deserving, but I think if his career were to end now, I don't think he would get the votes to get in. He's still young enough. I believe he's 30. So he's still young enough to get 6 or 7 more dominant years under his belt, try to get behind just all this drama we've seen over the last 5 years. There's still time enough to solidify that spot. But I think if his career were to end right now, I don't think he would have the support.
Are you putting in a request to interview Kyrie?
Kyrie knows I'm available. Kyrie knows I'm available.
Is Kyrie available? That's what I want to know.
That's a different question. That's a different question right there. But I think at some point, there's a few requirements or maybe one requirement left before he's able to play Sunday. I do believe he will have to speak to members of the media before he plays Sunday games. So that's something to look out for.
Before I let you go, Marvin is controlling the playlist today with the Cookout. And Marvin, do you want to tell – well, Chris, do you have a playlist for a Cookout?
For a cookout, so when I think of a cookout DP, I'm thinking about throwing something on that grill, throwing a slab of ribs on the grill.
No, music.
Rocking out.
Music. Marvin, give Chris
I'm going to go.
Hold on. I'm going to have Marvin give you his playlist today that we're playing.
Okay.
All
right. So we got Frankie Beverly and Maze, Before I Let Go. Got to Give It Up, Marvin Gaye. Lakeside, Fantastic Voyage.
Okay.
And then, I had Shalimar, Night to Remember, and Parliament, Flashlight.
Okay. What I was about to say before you mentioned those songs, I was going to go 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you having a cookout, a barbecue, 70s music gets the job done. It gets everybody in the mood. And most of those songs he mentioned were the 70s, if not all of them. So that's how I would rock out.
right. All right. Just want to make sure, because when I go to Marvin's Cookout next summer, I just want to make sure that I'm ready when I get there.
Okay, DP, Marvin, I would say this. Marvin, you got to play the Cupid Shuffle and get DP in on the dance.
Oh, boy.
That's something you got. You got to throw Cupid Shuffle in there.
Well, I was going to say, Chris, if he knew the words to Frankie Beverly and Maze, Before I Let Go, somebody going to fix him a plate.
Chris, have you ever been to the Cozy in Indianapolis?
I never have, no.
Okay. I went in there and realized that I was in the minority when I went in there. But I said, you know what? I'm gonna go in and get a beer. Next thing I know, they did the like the Soul Train where they line up on both sides, and then you got to dance down the middle of it. And I thought, you know what? Let's go. And I was with a producer of mine, Charlie Moynihan. I said, Charlie, let's go. And I remember acting like I was on a horse and spanking my backside as I'm heading down and I'm like, all right, we're good. And everybody was like, all right, you're all right. We're good with you.
And DP, it only lasts for a few seconds. I know in your mind it may feel like an eternity going down that line. It's over in a few seconds, and you're accepted. So run with it, DP.
Yeah, this was when Indiana was in the NBA Finals, and I thought, all right, let's go get a beer. I just hung out with Mark Jackson, Reggie Miller. We walked over there, and I walked in. It's one of those like Animal House. Otis, my man, and you walk in, and everybody turned around. And I'm like, I'm walking to the bar. I'm going to go. I'm going to get a beer, and I needed Stuart Scott there, I think, with me.
Oh, that would have been awesome. DP, man, you always invite to my barbecue, my cookouts, man. Anytime.
Congrats on the interview there, Chris. Always great to talk to you.
DP, take care, brother.
That's Chris Haynes, works for Bleacher Report, also TNT, the NBA on TNT.